In a prison that is deserted from anywhere else, it is a place where all lost souls are bound to suffer as they struggle to find a way to somehow change their fate and escape their never-ending doom. Corpses lay around the entire area while the others screamed for help, and the others who were desperate tried to defend themselves, but at the same time their bodies were quickly torn off by a mysterious creature. 3 of the group tried but died without even touching the beast as they all went down with a single hit. A man stood out amongst them and told his partner Maytal to keep the monster from moving. She tells Stepan to make it quick as her powers can't last long enough to hold the monster. Stepan then charges against the monster along with his teammate Wade. After the 2 of them had successfully chopped the monster's arms off, the rest of the warriors wasted no time and decided they wanted to finish it off. Their leader shouted to them saying not to rush in, but it was too late. The monster then replaced its limbs with a bunch of tentacles and began dismembering everyone around it just by a single touch. The group who survived the surprise attack realized they made the wrong decision. Their leader went in front and told the rest of them to move back and decided that he'll take it on instead.
Oh my God! Let's go!
He begins dashing through the enemy's whips while thinking that the monster would give him a hard time if he doesn't finish it quickly. He jumps over its attacks and tries using his skill. As soon as he gets close to the monster, it charges up its eye and creates a powerful explosion. Thankfully he was able to dodge it. Jong Hyuk then activated his skill and unleashed it upon the monster. He split it clean in half, and just after that, his teammates started celebrating. After the mission is over, Jong tells them to mind the souls and heal their wounds as they prepare to leave before respawn. Many died in the battlefield. Wade was impressed, saying the monster was smart enough to pull tricks on them, and was also amazed at Jong's fight. Jong didn't have time to cope, so he tells them to prepare, but just before he could finish his sentence, one of his teammates unexpectedly stabs him from the back. He thanked Jong for taking him this far, but before could say anything else, Jong was enraged and grabbed the traitor by his face. Wade intervened and immediately cut off his hand. He was stabbed again and dropped to his knees. Wade and his men decided that they share his soul and says that they won't be needing him anymore. Jong called them idiots, saying their skills are not enough to clear the other floors and that their deaths won't be any different than his. Wade ignores him and tells him not to worry about them. Jong looks to his side and sees that his fellow comrades were also killed. Wade said he couldn't save them and that he cared less about them as he watches Jong bleed to death. As his traitor came to finish him off, he began to mumble, saying it can't be the end. And in that moment, Jong had nothing but his fury and ripped off the traitor's neck using his jaw. After that, Wade told his teammates to restrain him. But one by one they're easily picked off by Jong's attacks. One manages to cut off his other arm, then Wade uses this as an opportunity to finally end him. His head flew off and flops to the ground after being sliced off by Wade. After that, his teammate says if they continue this, the balance won't match, so he asks what they should do next. Wade says that they should move on and take his soul to the next floor even if they have to fight to the death. He went on and said that maybe he's better than them and the one who can end this hell. Jong slowly closed his eyes and is in disbelief, saying he should have killed the traitors. As his life fades to nothing, he wakes up back in his spawn point and is left with no hope of escaping this torturous place. Just after waking up, Jong had nothing left but his towering rage as he screamed and cursed those who killed him. Every death gets messy as it goes on, but then again he has no choice but to try. He resented being on the first floor and everything about it, but at least he spawned alone, unlike last time. He looks for the button and blames the nutcase for hiding it. After opening the door, Jong remembered the time when he used to look for the door, but he failed miserably and starved to death. But with the crowd, it was nothing but a bloodbath and cannibalism. At that time, he was just an ordinary guy with no idea whether or not he could escape. The lag imprinted on the door symbolizes nothing, but Jong knew only one thing, and that he had to pull through this wretched place. Jong walks to the next room and vows to never make mistakes and avoid getting killed again. He enters the room with a cluster of cubes floating around. He then places his hand on the table and starts his awakening. After that, Jong receives a bunch of random skills and is given the goal of reaching the bottom of the dungeon. The attributes he acquired were of 2 kinds. There's public and private attributes. For the public attributes, he gets to use only 2 active skills at a time, and for his private attributes, he can have infinite passive skills. This surprised him as he usually runs with 10 active skills and only 2 passives. Jong was really glad to have an infinite amount of passive skills, but it is unfortunate that he only gets to use 2 active skills. This time he will be given a random weapon. He receives a passable item, which is a pickaxe. There were funny times when Jong was given pointless items that gave him no advantage. After that, he walks to the next room and sees 2 different paths. He took the right side because it was better than the other. After walking a couple stairs down to the bottom, Jong finally gets to the door. He activates his flashlight skill and enters the dark room. He can't turn back since the door is already closed on him. Jong receives a new mission telling him he needs to clear the room that is filled with zombies. His first reward will be an additional skill or an additional skill level, and his second reward will be random equipment or a key for the next door. The room is very dark, so Jong had to hug the wall to reduce his defense range and continue walking without making a sound. As he marches towards the exit, a zombie dwelling in the shadows approaches him. Jong then points his light towards the zombie horde, but thankfully their movements are slow. He gets into position and waits for them to get close to his range. As soon as the zombie jumped him, Jong swung his pickaxe at its face and instantly killed it. Back when he knew little about zombies, he was killed many times without knowing their weak spots. Moreover, their movements can be quite unpredictable, as sometimes they walk slowly and then suddenly attack you. Jong activates his fire skill and burns them to the ground. The zombies are also weak against fire, which is why Jong chose this room, but it wasn't over until an end message popped out. And all of a sudden, an imp zombie jumps him from over the edge, but it was killed effortlessly. With its head stuck on his weapon, Jong couldn't hear its movements since it was a tiny zombie. The mission is finally over. He was rewarded with a new passive skill called Tough Skin and a key for the next door. After acquiring another passive skill, Jong felt confident knowing that he could have an infinite number of passive skills. So maybe this time, his abilities will finally allow him to change the course of his fate. After the first floor is cleared, Jong goes to pick up the next door. He stops and thinks that he couldn't remember this exact type of room, yet he knew them exactly wherever he went. In B1-1, the room was bright, and only a few zombies appeared in it. Instead, there was little reward. B1-2 is a more difficult room, but since Jong has the key to B2-1, he unlocks the door and walks to the next room. The reason why Jong picked the key over some piece of equipment is because he felt confident that he could succeed in B2-1's mission and take his reward. After entering the room, Jong receives another mission telling him to kill the bug behind the wall and kill the monsters in B2-1. He will be rewarded with speed boots and be able to level up one random skill. Jong is confused after seeing that the mission didn't even identify his specific target, but it is good to know that he's very familiar with every room that he comes across. Other than that, Jong was disturbed to see that there was a man sleeping just next to the door. This mysterious person is known as Kim Tae-min, whose public attributes include underwater breathing. Jong couldn't help but think that this man just sleeps in this kind of situation, like he's got some death wish. After that, Kim eventually wakes up and sees that there's another person right in front of him. The two stared at each other for a bit. Jong looked at his hammer and remembered it was an item that boosts the user's physical strength. Jong then asks what he's doing, but Kim just stands there and stutters a lot. Jong figured that Kim was unlikely to pass the B1-1 because even if he did, he couldn't enter the next room since he didn't have the key. Jong then asked him who he was waiting for. Jong thought that he could have moved to different rooms without touching a single zombie, but that can't be the case because he wasn't rewarded with a key. He doubted that Kim was even capable of killing a zombie. After many questions flowing through Jong's mind, Kim finally replied, saying he was waiting for him, but Jong was confused. Kim then said that he was with someone during the mission, but he died before he could help him. Jong asked him if he came down here by himself. Kim came down in a hurry, but he hesitated to go in the room, so he waited outside. Jong looked at him with suspicion as he entered the room without asking for company. Kim was flabbergasted and told Jong that he'd go with him. As Jong opened the door, Kim couldn't help but be stunned after seeing that the room was overcrowded with trees. The room therein has no ceiling but is filled with blue skies, grass growing on the floor, and roses. Kim catches up to Jong and asks if he's okay with the current situation because everything about this place makes no sense. Jong couldn't do anything about it and says that he'll just have to endure his way through the forest. Kim wanted to talk more about their situation, but Jong told him that he simply didn't have an answer for him. Jong reminded Kim, saying that the only goal he has in mind is to reach the bottom floor so they can escape this wretched place. Kim then apologized to him for saying pointless things. As they went into the forest, Jong told him he didn't know what would come out of it, so he needed to pay attention. After walking and looking around the forest, Kim asked him why they stopped as he looked up the tree. It is then revealed that a wooden spider was hiding among the trees, waiting for them. Jong tells Kim to keep quiet as the spider closes in on them, but it is too late. The spider then jumps to the ground and almost squashes them, but luckily they dodge it. Jong thought that even if someone is awakened, their true skill depends on the person who utilizes it. Jong is impressed by his dodging skills. Looking at the spider, getting caught with its legs could easily be an instant death. Still, if he can dodge even a powerful attack, it shouldn't be a problem for him. As the spider charges towards Jong, he gets into position while knowing he can dodge its speed using his awakening. That is, a physical strength that far exceeds human capabilities. As Jong keeps dodging the spider's attack, Kim watches him from a distance. He gets a jump on the spider, but the damage is not even enough to break its leg. He took a step back for a moment and realized that beating this spider might take him a while. During that thought, Kim makes his move and runs toward Jong's back, quite possibly murdering him. Kim swung his axe with an explosive attack. However, he was not aiming for Jong. Instead, he was aiming for the leg of the spider. He was surprised, expecting that Kim was just going to watch. The spider screeched in pain, giving Jong an opening to strike. The spider counterattacked, blowing him away. After regaining his stance, he heard a crack from its leg, meaning the monster was about to strike. He was able to dodge the attack and break a leg at the same time. Kim struck with an explosive attack again, weakening the spider. To finish the monster off, Jong hopped on top of the monster and delivered a flurry of smashes on the head of the spider, effectively finishing it. Jong looked at Kim and thought that he could not support his physical strength, but applauded his tenacity to use skills consecutively, and that even though he is physically weak, the skill he uses is strong, and that Jong should be weary of Kim's growth, but he doesn't care if Kim will not help him because he will force him to, and that is the important reason to keep him alive, but he can still kill him anytime. As the two walked through the woods, Kim kept pestering Jong with questions. He wanted to know where they were going. Jong said they just needed to get away to avoid getting ambushed since there was a loud noise, but he was welcome to stay put if he wished, but if he wanted to follow Jong, he had to stay quiet. Kim apologized, but Jong did not let this get through him because in Lag everybody deceives everyone. But suddenly the leaves started making noise, and several spiders surrounded them. Kim asked what they should do, and Jong suggested they start running. As they ran with all their might, Jong was making a plan where the spiders could bunch themselves together. Later on, they reached a steep hill. Kim saw a dead end and started complaining. Jong covered his mouth to shut him up. Kim apologized but expressed his concerns because if the spiders caught up to them, they were in a dead end. Jong thought that since they were not in an infinite space, the spiders would come to them. The first plan of his step was to burn a tree and make Kim attack it with his explosive attack. He wants to set the whole forest on fire, and he wants Kim to use an explosive attack on the burning tree. This combination sent cinders of flames throughout the forest, effectively spreading the fire. The spiders flocked towards them while burning, dying in the process. This gave Jong and Kim a lot of experience. He said it's easier because Jong only went to the second basement floor, and that there is no need to chase wooden spiders because they already chase people innately. And their bodies are made from wood, which is flammable. Jong is rewarded with equipment for accomplishing missions. Kim is still confused, standing in the corner, still wondering if it's over. Jong assured him it is over. In Jong's head, he wished he had an unknown item. After the both of them burned down the forest and the spiders, Jong took a stroll around looking for a specific item. He stumbled upon a shining flame inside a dead spider. It was a soul, which is a reward for killing monsters. Souls are basically skill points. By getting an amount of them, they can raise their skill level. But sometimes several souls may be needed in order to level up a certain skill. They can use the soul anytime they want, and it can also be used as a currency for trading. meaning that they are a valuable item in LAG. They are used to help you become stronger and richer. While Jong was still looking for souls, Kim found one but couldn't seem to absorb it. It seems like Jong can be the only one to absorb it since souls are only awarded to the people with the most outstanding contribution to killing the monster. If the owner doesn't take ownership of the soul within 4 hours or transfer ownership, another person can take the soul for themselves, but before the time limit, they can't do anything with it. After taking the soul for himself, Kim becomes furious since Jong just stole it in front of him. Jong now has 2 souls, which he can use to move on to be 2-1-2, but after that interaction between the both of them, Kim runs towards him and leaps forward to attack him from the back, but Jong knew that it was going to happen, so he will now kill him. Kim activates his explosive attack skill. But when he gets stabbed in the neck by Jong's pickaxe, he tells Kim that he knew everything from the beginning. From the evidence of blood on Kim's hammer, he was surely going to kill him after he got the soul, so Jong strikes the first move instead. He knows how everything works since he was killed by a bunch of traitors just like before. In a fit of rage, he smashes Kim's head with a pickaxe, and a soul comes out after he was killed due to this mechanic. Some players in LAG hunt humans instead of monsters because it's easier to deceive them. In Kim Tae-min's case, he was the same as them too and would do anything for their benefit. He expected it from him the first time he met him, since he has blood on a claw from the hammer, and zombies do not bleed, meaning he must have used it to kill another person to get their soul. Furthermore, he knew the existence of souls, meaning it wasn't his first time killing a living creature. Jong now has 3 souls thanks to Kim's poor decisions. The reason he was able to react rationally is because he has been in this kind of situation way too many times. He has dealt with traitors countless times, so in this life he will do anything to prevent dying and only have the goal of surviving and escaping the place. Jong picks up Kim's hammer and gets a minuscule boost of strength from equipping it. He is now a Minecraft character. While walking through the burnt forest, he thinks about getting equipment for himself. He also needs to level up his skills since it won't be enough to deal with the monsters awaiting him, but he knows he can't rush or else it will result in a bad conclusion and death. He opens the door of B2-1-2 and sees a pitch-black hallway. He walks further inside and sees 3 doors in his view. The first door is the next room leading to B2-1-3, a door leading to a shower, and lastly, a door showing an LAG symbol above it. Jong proceeds to go in the door with the LAG symbol. A vendor is just standing menacingly on the side. They do not speak and are made of virtual imaginations. In the past, a guy who accompanied Jong touched the vendor and waved his hand inside it for no reason. He was an idiot and a rash guy, so it resulted in his arm being discombobulated. Vendors do not come on every floor, so he has to trade every time they are present. He tells the vendor to show him the equipment. The vendor opens his coat, showing multiple weapons inside of it. Jong asks the vendor to show him the armor next. He chooses the equipment and purchases it. The vendor accepts his transaction and reaches out its hand to take the soul from Jong as payment. He takes out the souls in his inventory and gives them to the vendor. The vendor shows the drip that he purchased and automatically equips it for Jong. The vendor gave him cooked meat and water as a bonus for his purchases. The meat that was given to him is Taurus meat, which is a monster below 7 basement floors. After finishing his meal, he quickly stands up and goes to the shower room. The doorknob is suddenly moved from the inside, meaning someone's presence is there. Quickly thinking, Jong hides beside the door. He prepares his dual-wielded weapon, and a woman comes out of the room. The woman's name was Emma Garcia, and her public attribute is that she can use 2 skills simultaneously. Jong points his pickaxe at Emma's neck and threatens her not to move. He tells her to raise her hands and not make a noise or else she will see herself dead. Emma tells him to calm down and talk to her reasonably. Jong extorts her souls and equipment. She takes out her equipment, but she doesn't have any soul left, which is an inconvenience for Jong. He asks her a question about whether there are any other people around here, and Emma tells him that she is alone. Jong tries to confirm it from her again. Jong tells her that if she knows that he can see the souls of other players, it must mean that she was with someone else. She denies it again. He tells her to stand up and open the shower door. No one is inside, meaning she is currently telling the truth. Jong asks her to honestly tell him what happened, the person that she was with had already moved on to B2-2-2, meaning that the person had already left first. Emma said that after finishing a mission in B2-2-1, 2 doors came out, and the other person went to B2-2-2 while she went inside B2-1-2. This was a shock to Jong since the layout of the doors and rooms had changed. He asked her why she didn't go with the person. Emma replied that he was a pervert, which is why she didn't want to join him. Jong contemplates whether he will let her accompany him or kill her. She greets Jong if he is still there and asks him not to kill her. She doesn't intend to hurt anyone, and if he doesn't kill her, she will be a valuable party member for the team due to her qualities. Jong gets pissed and tells her to move on, meaning she will be joining his party. Emma asks if she can turn around now, and Jong tells her to do so, and she picks up her equipment that she put down on the floor. She was stunned after seeing Jong since she thought she was going to be a middle-aged man, but he was more handsome than she thought, and his eyes looked dead. He replies to her if she can be sure that she can say that in this type of situation. Emma refutes that she is an optimistic person and she knows that he won't kill her since they will be together in the same party. Jong explains that everything was just to protect himself from any types of danger since he is a wary person due to the types of people he met during his journey on LAG. Emma doesn't think Jong is an evil guy and a pervert to top it off. Thinking that she must be a soft person since she hasn't realized the entirety of the situation yet. In LAG, it's to kill or to be killed. She asks Jong what they are going to do now. Both of them will now be headed towards B2-1-3. Both of them stare at the door. He won't open the door due to the lovely policy of ladies first. She opens the door and everything is too dark to be seen. Jong pushes Emma inside the room, and what happens next is for the next part. What will happen to both of them? Will they be able to make it out alive and move to the next room? Maybe Emma is a traitor who is really good at faking her personality. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Thanks for staying in tune with our manga recap. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more updates from our content.